The morning had started like every other difficult morning in Emily Carter's life, quiet, heavy, and filled with uncertainty. Her tiny apartment window let in a dull gray light as rain tapped softly against the glass. Emily sat at the small kitchen table staring at the last dollar bill in her hand. That single dollar was all she had left until the end of the week. Her rent was overdue, her fridge was nearly empty, and the interview she had scheduled later that morning at a prestigious company felt like her final chance to change everything. She sighed deeply, slipped the dollar into her purse, and whispered to herself, "This has to work." With that, she grabbed her worn-out coat and stepped outside into the cool morning air. The streets were busy with people rushing to work, umbrellas bobbing like colorful mushrooms in the rain. Emily walked toward the subway station, her mind racing with interview answers and worries about whether she looked professional enough. As she passed a small sandwich shop near the station, the warm smell of fresh bread drifted into the street. Her stomach growled loudly, reminding her she hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. She hesitated at the door, thinking about the dollar in her purse. It wasn't much, but it could at least buy a simple sandwich that might keep her going until evening. Emily stepped inside the cozy shop where the lights were warm and the sound of quiet chatter filled the air. She ordered the cheapest sandwich on the menu and waited at the counter, trying not to think about how that $1 represented her last bit of security. Just as the cashier handed her the wrapped sandwich, Emily noticed a man standing a few feet away. He looked around 35, dressed simply in a gray shirt and dark jeans. His hair was slightly messy, and there was something thoughtful about the way he stared at the menu board. But what caught Emily's attention was the embarrassment in his eyes as he quietly told the cashier he had forgotten his wallet. The cashier shrugged impatiently and turned away. The man gave a small apologetic smile and stepped aside as if preparing to leave. Emily felt something tug at her heart. She knew that look, the look of someone having a rough day and pretending everything was fine. Without overthinking it, she walked up to him and held out the sandwich. "Here," she said gently. "You can have this." The man looked surprised. "Oh no, I couldn't take your lunch," he said. Emily smiled and placed the sandwich into his hands anyway. "Trust me, it's okay. I'll survive." He hesitated, clearly unsure, but her kindness seemed to win. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You didn't have to do that." Emily shrugged with a warm smile. Sometimes a small kindness can change someone's day. The man nodded thoughtfully as if her words meant more than she realized. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Emily," she replied. For a moment they stood there sharing an awkward but sincere smile before Emily glanced at the clock on the wall. Panic flickered across her face. "Oh no, I'm going to be late for an interview," she said quickly. She waved goodbye and hurried out of the shop, her stomach still empty but her heart strangely light. As she rushed through the rain toward the subway, she had no idea that the simple act of giving away her last dollar had just set something extraordinary in motion. An hour later Emily stood nervously in the sleek glass lobby of the company she hoped would hire her. The building was enormous, the kind of place where people wore tailored suits and walked with confidence. Emily tried to smooth her damp hair and calm her racing heartbeat as she checked in with the receptionist. After a few minutes she was escorted into a large conference room to wait for the interviewer. She rehearsed her introduction again and again in her mind, praying that this opportunity wouldn't slip away. The door opened a few minutes later. Emily stood up immediately, and froze. Walking into the room was the same man from the sandwich shop. The same gray shirt, the same thoughtful eyes, and now a calm, confident posture that made the entire room feel different. Daniel stopped when he saw her, and for a moment they both stared in stunned silence. Then a slow smile spread across his face. "Emily," he said, almost amused. "I didn't expect to see you again so soon." Emily blinked in confusion. "You work here?" she asked. Daniel chuckled softly and pulled out the chair across from her. "Actually," he said, sitting down, "I'm the new CEO." Emily felt the color drain from her face. Her mind raced back to the sandwich she had given him with her last dollar. She suddenly worried she had done something embarrassing or inappropriate. But Daniel leaned forward with genuine warmth in his eyes. "You know," he said, "this morning I decided to visit the area quietly before officially starting my position. I wanted to see how people treat each other when no one important is watching. And then I met you." Emily was speechless. Daniel continued, "You had nothing, yet you gave what little you had to help someone else. That tells me more about your character than any resume ever could. Emily's nervousness slowly softened into disbelief. Daniel smiled and slid a folder across the table. Your qualifications are already impressive, but after this morning I'm even more confident. He paused for effect before finishing his sentence. Emily, welcome to the team. Emily's eyes filled with tears as relief and gratitude washed over her. The kindness she had given freely had returned in a way she never imagined. Daniel stood up and shook her hand warmly. Never underestimate the power of kindness, he said. Emily left the building that afternoon with a new job, a hopeful future, and a powerful reminder that even the smallest good deed can open doors no one expects. And if this story touched your heart, remember that kindness truly changes lives. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us how simple acts of compassion can transform the world around us.